think FBI represents a really great part of Sydney and a really integral part of Sydney. Since I started volunteering at the station, I've seen so many Australian acts that have grown to be huge, both in Australia and overseas, that really got their first airplay on FBI, that came into the studio during a music open day, that gave us their demo. And now are household names in Australia.
FBI began once we got our licence from the Broadcasting Authority by a group of really passionate, excited volunteers and staff who came together and worked out what the station needed to be and how to get it happening. So we knocked on doors and asked for people to lend us money to get it started. We found volunteers to start doing the programming, we found staff members, and we started building the studios.
So from the 70s and 80s, Double J had been Sydney focused and had been a fantastic outlet for new Australian music and culture based in Sydney. But when Double J became Triple J and went national, it necessarily had to broaden its focus to a large national audience and couldn't be the champion for Sydney. So a number of people stepped in and decided we would create a radio station that would become the champion for Sydney music, arts and culture.
Yeah, I think FBI's carved out a really important place within the Sydney music scene, but even more broadly than that, just as part of, I guess, the cultural landscape in terms of supporting events and gigs, artists, be they musician or visual artists. As a music fan, it's really important to me to have FBI around. It's an alternative on my radio dial. It's a place that I know works with integrity and passion. There are 200 volunteers here that really keep the place running and sort of do all the heavy lifting.
Yeah, in high school, I was in high school when FBI began as a thing, and I remember being really excited that it was like a radio station that was kind of focused on really local stuff, and that you could kind of find out about bands that were maybe a little less known or just starting out. So that was kind of really cool to kind of be thinking that you were finding out about other bands that maybe were in the same position as you. It's really cool. Yeah,
and it's nice because it started us off in like a really nice community, because it's community radio, you know. So it started off as like, when we were doing music, we like could meet other people who were doing the same kind of stuff as us and were around the same level, and we could all hear each other on the radio and that kind of thing, which is really nice spot to be in.
FBI to me has also been an entire career. I mean, I came on here in my very early 20s, and I've spent the best part of 10 years now, so it's really been my home and my family. I've made some amazing friends, and you know, pretty much learned everything that I know. Almost everything that I know has come through FBI. It's a very generous place like that. It's a teaching radio station, so all of my knowledge about programming music, about doing radio or hosting a radio show, all of my contacts and all the people that I've met, and all the bands that have supported us that I've had the pleasure to work with over the years, that's all come from FBI. So it really does open up a lot of doors, not just for me and the other staff, but all our volunteers, and we've had people move through the station and get full-time work, and I think that's a really important part of what FBI does. It presents a lot of opportunities for a lot of people, whether we're playing your music or whether you're volunteering here in the office. There are a lot of good things to come out of this place.
After 10 years of being on air, it's amazing now thinking about the listeners coming to the station who have never known Sydney radio without FBI, and that's an amazing thing that it's now just an integral, connected, dedicated, always there part of the Sydney media landscape.
I think what's really important about community radio is that it is irreplaceable, because it's so linked to kind of a geographical place, and like the whole idea of it being local means that local artists can flourish within their own environment, especially up and coming people. And so when you lose a community radio, you kind of lose what's holding these small communities together, and everything kind of becomes more disparate and a bit disconnected. And so community radio can be exactly that, like a community, and it really needs to exist in order to bring people together and make something fantastic.
Boosh.
FBI to me, in 3 words, is great for new music.
Hipster infested.
Dynamic.
Community.
Energy.
Supportive.
Edgy.
Art.
Centrelink.
Mistakes.
Committed. Experience. Necessary.
Sometimes zany.
Independent.
And fresh.